Hi everyone, I'm Sigourney Weaver and we're here today to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Avatar. I've been given some of your questions and I'm going to go through them and answer them. And I didn't bring my real glasses, so sorry, I'm going to be a big movie star and use my prescription dark glasses. So the first one says, Sigourney, what drew you to this project and how did you get involved? Well, one day, out of the blue, I got a call from Jim Cameron. Who said he had written a script that he wanted me to read, and that it took place on a moon called Pandora in Alpha Centauri, and that it was about, the forces of sort of greed and preservation, innocence and corruption. But that he'd actually written my character as a guy, but then thinking about it, he decided that it should be me. And her name was Grace Augustine. And he talked a bit about why she was named those things, the sort of spirit of St. Augustine. But when I looked that up, it said she was a patron saint of brewers, so I wasn't sure where to go with that. Anyway, he loved Grace because she was really politically incorrect, and she was going to smoke, and she's going to, be in charge of this whole program where humans, put on their avatar selves and went out into the world and interacted with the people. Anyway, it sounded amazing, and he said he was going to send over someone with a script, and I would read the script, and then the man would take it back. Of course, it turned out that I needed at least 3 or 4 days to read the script. Every single paragraph was so packed with details of this other world and descriptions of battles and descriptions of characters, and it's just left you breathless. So the poor script deliverer had to wait around New York a few days for me to finish it, and it really was, I realized reading it that I'd never seen anything remotely like this in a movie. The scope of it was so huge, the vision of it was so powerful, it was so original, it was funny, it was so moving. It really took my breath away. But literally on every page, I'd stop and I'd think, how on earth is he going to do that? Whatever I was reading seemed completely impossible. But eventually I got through it and called him back, and we talked for a while, and I started getting really excited. So that's the first question. Now, second question, what was the most interesting part of playing Grace? So the most interesting part for me was definitely the fact that Grace was 2 people. There was the earthling Grace, who had left Earth because Earth was dying, and had, almost in desperation as a botanist, come to this faraway world and had discovered her real vocation in life. And to really be effective in that world, she had created the Avatar program, whereby she and her colleagues could essentially use avatars, Na'vi-like avatars, and be on the planet or in the forest or wherever, and be able to breathe the Pandoran air, etc., and just interact with the indigenous people who were called Na'vi. And this became Grace's real life. At one point, Jim said, I want you to smoke. And I was like, smoke? I don't want to smoke. He said, It's important that Grace be politically incorrect. And I said, And he said, I said, I just don't see it. I just don't think that's important. It seems really, why is she doing that? And he said, because she doesn't care about her human body. And that really struck me, because of course it's true. When Grace is, in headquarters, she's a disgruntled, frustrated, angry, fed up scientist. And when she's in the forest of Pandora, she is just filled with joy and energy and enthusiasm for learning everything she can and putting it all down and learning about this world, learning about the people. And so that's her real life. And that was really fascinating. And I love them both. And I just thought it was a wonderful character to play. So, next question. You've worked with James Cameron over the span of 3 decades. How has working with him changed? And how has he changed? Well, Jim was always great to work with, but I think he's having a lot more fun now. When I first got the script of Alien from him back in goodness knows when, it was so beautifully written, and it was, again, the scale of it was so huge, the stakes of the story, and kind of primeval characters, good and bad. And of course, in England, he wasn't very well known, and he was a Canadian young director. The crew hadn't seen Terminator, and it didn't take long, but I think they underestimated who he was and what he was about to create. Within no time, of course, they were just agog at the way he would direct, and everything in the movie was created by him. The tanks were designed, the guns were designed by him. Everything was his brainchild, and I remember he was, the scope of these huge action sequences was pretty amazing, and really meant so much emotionally. But what I think about Jim now is he kind of has a different touch. I think he's much more fun now, or he lets that fun side out more, and I think there's nothing he enjoys more than being on the set again in this world he has totally created with his actors and with his crew, and just doing the work. I think there are a lot more jokes, and actually, one of the biggest differences now is he used to be really involved with the action sequences, and he certainly is still. They are impeccable, but he is really into the emotional stories, and they really pack a wallop. And Avatar was the beginning of all this. You really get involved with the characters and root for them, and hope for them, and are scared for them, and worried about this magnificent natural world. I think he's having a great time, and he did then too. All right, I shall move on. Sigourney, tell us about the performance capture process. What was the most challenging thing about it? Well, for me, it was putting on the damn suit. By the time I could get that suit on with all of its little knobs and colors and everything in the right place, I had to lie down. That was really the hardest thing for me. Once I had it on, I thought the whole thing was so much fun. I started in the theater, so it's sort of like an off-Broadway production, you know, when you're all up there in your little black suits, and everything is pretend, the world is pretend, the other creatures are pretend. You just use your imagination. It's like being 8 years old on a rainy day and you're pretending that, you know, you're walking along the tops of the chairs, and if you fall down, you'll fall into a volcano or something. It's sort of all those wonderful feelings. It's like a very early rehearsal where you're just really relating to each other. It's great because you don't have to worry about sets and all these other things. It's just actor to actor. And it's all about the script and the story we're telling. So that's what I loved about it, the simplicity of it, actually. People think it's so complicated. It's not. It's not. It's actually very freeing. All right. How did you prepare for your role as an astrobiologist? Well, actually, I'm a xenobotanist, which is the study of alien plants. And we all went to Hawaii, to Kauai actually, to rehearse in the rainforest, as it were, and sort of become an ensemble. And it was really great. I was working with an actual botanist, and Joel David Moore was sort of assisting me, and we would literally go into the forest with Jim filming us, and you know, we would find various plants and discuss them, and we would take samples of them and make slides of them and then put them carefully away. So we got a lot of on-the-ground training on what Grace and Norm would be doing. And we just, you know, pretended we were in Pandora for about a week, and it was really exhilarating. And then, of course, you know, Jim has created all of these plants, you know, like that big fern, the war bonnet fern is one of his creations. Every single plant that's in the movie is his creation, so we were able to put up a lot of the plants in the studio where we were working. Wonderful, you know, colors and, you know, shades of Pandora, the purples and the blues and the pinks. And that gave me such a good base from which to play Grace. And it was great to start where she was most happy, which was in the forest, working with the plants. And I just remember those early days were really, really fun. I think we started at the beginning, and there was Sam, who, you know, wasn't used to that planet and wasn't used, you know, couldn't breathe the air, and it was very entertaining. So, are you still with me? When you were filming Avatar, did you have any idea that it was going to become such a box office phenomenon? Well, of course not. On the other hand, I knew that I had never seen anything like this in a movie. It was just jaw-dropping, everything I saw. You know, the flying on the Ekrons, the world itself, the floating mountains, the horrible unobtainium mines, the Na'vi people, how they lived, how they were one with, you know, with the animals, with the plants, the communication between all of them. It was, so in a way, I'm not surprised. I think what surprised me was that all over the world, almost instantly, people embraced this film and felt like it was their story. That we, you know, of course, we already knew 10 years ago that we were facing climate change and global warming. I think the way people responded was so passionate, I think it really encouraged people wherever they were, all over the world, to become more active. In a way, it was an inspiration, but also Jim, who'd has always been, very active about the environment. His message to all of us was to get out there and pay attention and start doing everything we could to reverse this process, because it was going to wipe out huge territories around the world, groups of people, a whole way of life which was more in tune with nature. And it's a little sad, frankly, 10 years on, to see that that a lot of people weren't really allowed to make changes that needed to be made then, and that the forces on Earth that are after their own kind of unobtainium, oil and coal and all these things, that they're stronger than ever, unfortunately, and species are dying left and right, and these corporations don't really care. So I think it's good to have the anniversary, so we can all be reminded of how powerful we can all be together and as individuals, because there's a lot of work to do. And the worst thing we can do is get, kind of complacent and give up. The world needs us more than ever. So that's what I think. Let's see. I didn't really answer the question. Sorry about that. So, we heard that you're in the sequel. Can you tell us anything about how that's going to work? No, I can't. I'm sorry. I wish I could. It's all very exciting, but it's coming. And in any case, we have the very amazing Avatar to look at, and I never get tired of it, and all the characters. So I think it'll be great to celebrate this 10th anniversary, and also great to look forward to even more. Thank you so much for sharing these celebrations with me. It's been really fun, and happy 10th anniversary, Avatar, and y'all go have a great party.